There's a space. Nice job, man.
In the beginning, man made fire, then weaponry. Then, at the turn of the 20th century, we got ideas for robots with the likes of Rosie in the Jetsons and Japan's Astro Boy. Later down the road, sci-fi novels and B-movies produced the likes of things like this. While in Japan, they got Go Lion and Super Sentai and Gundam. When was it going to be our turn? And no, Power Rangers, Voltron, and G-Force does not count. We stole that. But then, something just out of reach happened in the 21st century. We got the banger that is known as Megas XLR.
Ride.
Want a lift?
Hey! Okay, dude, let's see what that jalopy can do.
What's a jalopy?
First off the line.
Yeah, I'm sure they're feeling pretty silly right now.
With the theme song that kids my age still sing to this day. Look at your girlfriend, or your man, or your partner, and ask them, do they dig giant robots?
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Megas XLR is an American animated television series created by Jody Schaefer and George Krisick for Cartoon Network. The series revolves around two teenage lackers, a mechanic named Coop and his best friend Jamie, who's kind of an asshole. When they find a giant mech robot from the future, they call it Megas, short for Mechanized Earth Guardian Attack System, while living in the state of New Jersey. Sorry for anybody who lives in New Jersey. In a junkyard. Coop modifies Megas' head and replaces it with a control center inside a classic muscle car. Together with Megas and its original pilot, Kiva, they must defend the Earth from the evil alien race called the Gort. And FYI, the Gort just look like Davy Jones from Pirates of the Caribbean. Also, the commander is voiced by Clancy Brown.
Grab me captain's quarters and heave!
The subordinate is voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson, which the power of that alone, amazing. Krisick was originally one of the co-creators of MTV's Downtown, an animated sitcom that depicts the life of urban people based off of real interviews. Fun fact, Goat from Downtown actually kind of plays a role in this show. He's the junkyard mechanic and Coop's boss. So that's pretty cool. Little neat crossover. Schaefer and Krisick conceived the idea of the animated series where the main character would pilot a giant robot utilizing his video game skills. The pilot episode Lowbrow was shown in 2002 during Cartoon Network's Cartoon Weekend Summerfest to determine which pilot would become a cartoon. It was the most popular amongst its viewers. It aired on Toonami back in May 1st, 2004 to January 15th, 2005 for 2 seasons, totaling 26 episodes before being canceled due to low ratings. Much of the series was influenced by Japanese mech anime, which is the thing the two of these creators grew up watching. The animation being inspired by both anime and Western animation. The humor often pays homage or even mocks anime conventions. Despite this, it reminds me a lot of Marvel, especially considering we have a character called Magnus, and the villain is played by Bruce Campbell. Yes, that Bruce Campbell.
Groovy.
After being delayed from its original debut in December 2003, Megas XLR was finally debuted on Toonami back in May 2004. However, due to its low ratings, the series was canceled after 2 seasons, and the final episode aired on January 5th, 2005. Can you believe that? Can you think about that? Go back and put your blood, sweat, and tears into a cartoon that most people like. I mean, sure, the West wasn't fully into anime outside of like Toonami and it's for kids. I mean, back then you have to go on pirated sites or DVDs and try to figure out things. I mean, that's how I found out about Evangelion. So I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to comprehend anime. Although that was the train of thought that a lot of executive producers thought. It was too weird and too outlandish. But on the same network, you have things like Teen Titans emulating anime and 2005, 2006. I mean, Avatar is just either about to come out or it's already out. So don't give me that crap. Despite the low ratings, the series was met with positive reception. It was ranked number 4 on ToonZone's Tunes of 2000s and the top 5 Cartoon Network originals. There have been various fan efforts and petitions to revive the show, but ultimately, because Cartoon Network Studios and Titmouse considered this unviable, the show will probably never see the light of day again. Reruns continued to air sporadically from January 16, 2005 to June 24, 2006. During this time, the series was later moved on to the graveyard slot of 3:30 a.m. on Friday nights and Saturday mornings before being removed from the network altogether, which is terrible. Jesus, a show like this getting axed off. I mean, granted, Cartoon Network shows around that time were bangers, but seriously, CN Real, you guys have a lot to make up for. I'll forgive you for CN Real if you guys figure out something with Warner Brothers and bring back Megas. Let's talk about the plot. In the year 3037, Earth is fighting a losing war against a hostile alien race led by Lorath, aka Clancy Brown, one of the greatest voice actors of all time. In a last desperate attempt to save the planet, human resistance steals a prototype mech robot from the Glorth and modifies it into the powerful war machine, renaming it Megas, Mechanized Earth Guardian Attack System. Their plan is to use the mech to travel back in time and send Megas and its assigned pilot, Kiva, 2 years into the past to the Battle of the Last Stand, which was the last major offense fought by humanity against the Glorth. Humanity lost that battle, but the members of the Resistance, particularly Kiva, believe that Megas save us all.
The Avatar will return to save the world.
Wrong show, sorry. Before the plan can be executed, however, an attack by the Glorth forces the humans to send Megas back in time before proper preparations are made. Megas' head is blown off in the attack, and its time drive is damaged, and it is crippled, sending the robot inadvertently back to a junkyard in the 1930s New Jersey. It remains there until the slacker mechanic named Coop, voiced by David DeLuise. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, then you know that freaking voice. It's freaking Jerry Russo from Wizards of Waverly Place. I know, it took me a minute, but yeah, it's him. It's crazy.
We are looking for someone at Shea Stadium making our sandwich so we can see what's in our sandwich. Now concentrate.
If I go back in time and look into a crystal ball, will I see me looking into this crystal ball?
Okay, that is not concentrating.
Hey, Goat, what's in this pile anyway?
Don't really know. It's been around here since this place was opened back in the 30s.
And you never went through it?
Nah, been too busy, what with all my social obligations and all.
How much for this?
Coop discovers it approximately in the year 2004, and then turns Megas' head into a hot rod by giving it a flaming paint job and replacing its head with a classic muscle car and adding XLR, meaning extra large robot, to its name. While Coop is showing off his robot to his best friend Jamie, voiced by Steve Bloom, yes, Wolverine, Kiva travels back to the 20th century to retrieve Megas, and upon discovering that Coop is now the only person that can pilot the robot due to its modifications, she begrudgingly agrees to train him to use it. However, the Glorth have followed her through the time portal, forcing Kiva, Coop, and Jamie to team up to defend the Earth against the Glorath and his forces and various other threats. And thus, the Powerpuff Girls were born. Just kidding. Yeah, that's the basic premise of the show. A lot of exciting adventures. Like previously mentioned, they fight a MODOK-like character. There's another episode where Coop and Jamie run into basically what is essentially Sailor Moon and friends. He fights what essentially is the Gatchaman in another episode. I do want to express the fact that they do throw a little bit of Voltron in there because, you know, G-Force never had any mechs. This show gives me major Jay and Silent Bob vibes. Like, if they were ever to come upon a giant mech, this is probably what they would do. Especially Jay. Jay and Jamie could be the same person. Two dudes just being dudes while using their knowledge of video games and rock and roll to save the universe. Nice. Oh, and another funny thing about this show is its constant hate for MTV. Because, you know, they canceled the previous show, Downtown. And you really gotta dig the art style. And I know previously I've said it's influenced by anime, but it has this unique comic book look to it that just really chef's kiss to the people that worked on the shading. And the colors pop. Wow, nice. And you can understand why Cartoon Network was weary about this whole situation because, you know, budget. Costs money to look that good, especially during that time. Alright, let's talk about the characters. Coop is your fun-loving, food-loving, just having a good time and doesn't care about being bothered main character of the show. He enjoys being big and doing what he loves, which is playing video games, eating food, and fixing his ride, which just so happens to be a giant mecha. Coop also causes a lot of property damage, which is a running joke in this entire show. Jesus, it is pretty destructive. Like, Vulture would be on his ass if this was the MCU. But then again, it's New Jersey, so who cares? Jamie's Coop's best friend and kind of a sleazeball. He tries too hard and hits on every girl with a pulse, but under that deep slime ball heart is another crevice. And then deep in that crevice, you might find a good person. I mean, does get some play in the show, so can't be all bad. Yeah. He would not fly nowadays. At first, Kiva was your super no-nonsense tough girl, and you can understand it because she comes from a future that pretty much sucks. She's kind of like Future Trunks, if Future Trunks was a girl. But all the mystique of John Connor ripped away from her. Most of the time, she just berates the two guys and really is trying to find a way to get Coop to be a better pilot. But further down the road, she becomes a likable person and good friends with Coop and Jamie.
Oh, yeah. Stratospheric strawberry slime. It's the nectar of the gods.
Where was I?
Finally, we have Goat, who, like I mentioned before, was a character from downtown who sold Coop Megas for $2, which, in hindsight, wasn't very bright. But, you know, he's the Cheech Marin of the show. Super cool, words of wisdom, and lets the guys leave their giant robot there. So, yeah, that's fun.
Coop, do you realize what we could do with this thing?
The show is very much a relic of its time and encapsulates what it was like to be a kid or even a teenager or a young adult during the early 2000s. And considering how we're always getting nostalgic stuff, and we've done the 80s, we've done the 90s, we're going to get to 2000s eventually. And I can't wait someone, the universe willing, to get a hold of Megas. But unfortunately, my dreams are crushed because in late 2012, fans of the show started using hashtag #BringMegasXLR back. The co-creators and directors announced that they would be trying to bring back the show, but Megas had been written off by Cartoon Network and Titmouse as a tax write-off, and the rights of the show were kind of in limbo. They tried to do a meeting with Titmouse to bring back the show alongside their next show, Motor City. However, it's written off as a tax write-off, you know, kind of like another project that Warner Brothers is doing right now. Huh? I want my Batgirl movie. Give me what I want. Overall, Megas XLR was a great show. Killed off before its time. God, I miss old cartoons. But we've got some pretty good cartoons now. I know we can never get the show back, but if you can find a way, go watch the show. I mean, learn something from it. See how culture was back in the early 2000s and how radical and dated a lot of pop culture was. Agree or disagree, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and hit the notification. And comment down in the comment section so we can get a discussion going. Thanks for watching.